Hello everyone. Let's see the JavaScript. What is JavaScript? JavaScript is used to create interactive web pages. It is an interpreted language. What is interpreted language means that the code is executed directly by the browser or an environment. So runtime environment. So without needing a separate compilation step, we just run the code step by step. Sorry, line by line. So JavaScript code is read and executed line by line by the browser. So it allowing the immediate feedback and faster developments. So this is called a interpreted language. Interpreted language means it is executed line by line by the browser. And then it is used to JavaScript is used to create a dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages are pages that can change the content and appearance without needing the reload the entire page. So without reloading the entire page, reloading the entire page, dynamic web pages are created by the by using the JavaScript. JavaScript can modify the page's element in response to the user actions like clicking a button or entering text. And then manipulating the DOM created by the browser. It is used to create dynamic web pages by the manipulating the DOM. It is created by the DOM is created by the browser. So DOM is a document object model, is a structured representation of the web page created by the browser. And then it organizes all elements in a tree structure like headings, buttons, images. JavaScript can access and modify these structures to change how the page looks and behaves. So this is what a JavaScript. JavaScript is an interpreted language and it is used to create a dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages means without reloading the entire page, we can do some action. That is called a dynamic web pages. Dynamic web pages are created by manipulating the DOM, which is DOM is created by the browser. Interpreted language means it is the code is executed line by line by the browser. So this is what a JavaScript. So what is a dynamic web page means we can change the content layout or appearance while you are viewing it without needing the reload the entire page. So for example dynamic pages like showing a new information like notifications, so for that and all there is no need of reloading the page. Let's see the JavaScript variables. In JavaScript, we can declare variables like var, let, and const. So, var, let, and const are used to declare a variables in a JavaScript. So, let's see what is var. Scope for it like var declares a variable with function scope or a global scope. This means the variable is accessible within the function where it is declared or globally if declared outside a function. Where can be accessed anywhere in the code. So and then it is used to redeclaration. You can redeclare it. You can redeclare the same variable within the same scope. So it is redeclaration. And then hoisting, variables declared with var are hoisted to the top of their scope. So variable declared with var are hoisted. This means they are moved to the top of the function or top of the function, but their value is not assigned until the actual declaration is encoded. So in this example, we have hoisted a variable var, but still it is undefined because we are not declared it. So it is if we access the variable a Before declaration, it will be displayed like undefined due to hoisting. So in this case, the declaration of A is hoisted, but the assignment happens at the point in the code which it appears. So it is in this case the variable A is hoisted, but it is not assigned a value to it. It is not declared. So it will display undefined. So var is used for a it is used to declare a variable with a function scope or a global scope, and it can be accessible within the function when it is declared, or globally if declared outside a function, and it can be used to redeclare and then hoisting also. Let declares a variable with a block scope. This means the variable is only accessible within that block. And then redeclaration, you cannot redeclare a variable within the same block or scope when you declare it a let. So cannot redeclare. Hoisting, like var let is also hoisted to the top of the block, but it is not initialized until the code execution reaches the declaration. So it will show the reference error. So here A is in this example A is hoisted, but um, it is not initialized, so it will show the temporal dead zone until its declaration is encountered. So this is the usage of let. And then const also has a block scope similar to let. So it is used to declare a variables whose value should not be reassigned. So if we declare a variable as a const means its value should not be a reassigned. Cannot reassign the value after the initialization. So this is the usage of const. So you cannot redeclare. And then hoisting like let const is also hoisted, but it will show the until it is declared. It will show the temporal dead zone. Immutability, variables declared with const must be initialized at the time of the declaration, while the binding cannot be changed. The contents of an object or array declared with const can still be modified. So in this case, assignment to the constant variable a equal to 10. So in this case, while the reference to a is constant, so the contents of the object can still be modified. So here we can modify the const because it is there. We are using the reference to that constant object dot name. So in this case, we can modify this variable. We can modify because we are using this reference to it object dot name. So this is the major difference between a var let and a const. And then hoisting. What is hoisting? Hoisting is the JavaScript behavior where variable declarations like var, let, or const and the function declarations are moved to the top of their containing scope. So all these variable declarations and function declarations are moved to the top of their containing scope during the compile phase before the code is executed. In behavior of the different declaration, in var only the declaration is hoisted, not the initialization. So the variable is undefined until the code execution reaches its initialization. For a let and const, these declarations are hoisted, but they enter a temporal dead zone where accessing them before their declaration results in a reference error. So hoisting with var, when we access before initialization, A is hoisted, but it shows the undefined. With the let and const, here also A is hoisted, but it will show the reference error. Let's say why hoisting is useful means function declarations and readability. For that purpose only hoisting is useful. Hoisting allows you to call a function before it is defined in the code, making the code more flexible and readable. So in this example, this great function is called before the function is getting executed. Sorry, greet function. The function greet can be called before its declaration due to the hosting. The entire function declaration is hoisted to the top of the scope. For this purpose, we are using hoisting. And then variable declaration with var. Hoisting helps when you declare variables at the top of their function. They are accessible anywhere within that scope. Let's see what is a JavaScript class. A class in JavaScript is like a blueprint for creating the object. It is a blueprint for creating a objects. It defines a set of properties and methods. A class will contain the collection of properties and method that objects created from the class will have. Classes used to define objects with common properties and behaviors. It allows for creation of multiple instances of the same object type. So inside the class, this is the JavaScript class structure. We have the constructor. This is the constructor method that gets called when you create a new object. When we create a new object, this constructor method will be called, and then method name. This is the method, a function inside a class, and then this is the class example. So constructor is used to initialize the properties of the class. So these are the properties: make, model, year. And then we are defines this method will be defines the behavior for the objects created from this class. This is the example for a class. And then core is a class with a constructor method that defines the properties make, model, and year. And then this display info method displays the information about the core. So creating an object from a class, you can create an object from a class, that is an instance of the class. So like this, in this example, you have created an object. Let my core equal to new core. Using the new keyword, we are creating an object for a class. Here this my core variable is an object for a core class. So you can create an object using the new keyword followed by the class name. Here class name is core. So new keyword followed by the class name, we can create a object for a core class. And then the values are Toyota, and then Corolla, and then 2020. These are the values are passed to the constructor to initialize the properties of my core object. So this is how we can create an object for the class. And what does the JavaScript object means? Object is an instance of a class. Object is an instance of a class. It is a collection of properties and methods. And then objects allows you to store multiple values in a single variable. This value can be any data type. So properties is nothing but a key value pair, characteristics or attributes of an object, methods or actions or behaviors of the object that can perform. We can create an object without using a class by directly defining it using object literal notation. So without a class, we can create an object using object literal. Inside the curly brace, we can give this key value pair properties in as a key value pair, and then we can call this method. So similar key points of class and object is class is a blueprint for creating object. It defines the properties and method that objects created from the class will have. Classes are used when you want to create multiple objects with the same structure. And then object is an instance of a class. Also, it holds the properties and methods specific to the object, represents a real world entity like a car, person, or product. So, this is what we have seen before. Class provides a way to organize code by defining a structure that can be reused to create a multiple object with similar properties and behavior. Object represents the individual instance of that structure containing specific data and performing actions based on the data. This is the JavaScript class and object. Let's see the statically and the dynamically typed language. So statically typed language is like the data type of a variable is none at the compile time itself. So variables are often declared and specific types, and once a type is set, it cannot be changed. If you declare a variable as an integer, you can later assign a string to it without an error. Since types are set and checked before runtime, so error related to data types are caught before the development process itself. So in examples of statically typed languages also are Java, C, C++, Shift, and TypeScript. So in these languages, we just declare if it is an integer means we before itself mention the data type. So we cannot manually change like this. If for a variable number before it is an integer, so we cannot change it as a string. If we want to change, we have to mention it is as a string data type. So it is a Java code, and then Java will throw an error at compile time because number was declared. So this will show an error. It is not an integer, right? We are storing a variable number is used to store an integer because it's a int data type. So we are storing a string. It will show an error. It will show an error at the compile time itself because we are mentioning the data type. So type is declared at the if a type checking is done at the compile time itself because data types is mentioned. Though this is called a statically typed language. So that is what once the variables are often declared at the specific types. Once the type is set, it cannot be changed. So this is what a statically typed language. So errors are caught at the compile time itself. So pros of this static typing is type safety. Many type related errors are caught early, like before the runtime. Before the code gets run, compile time itself we got the error, and it is used for a better performance and then IDE support. So cons for it is like type declaration can make a code longer or more complex, and then less flexibility like changing a variable's types can be challenging. So this is the pros and cons of the statically typed language. Dynamically typed language means the data type of a variable is determined at the runtime. So type of a variable is determined during the runtime only. So the variables are declared without specifying a type. So variables are declared without specifying a type. So a variable can hold any type of data. A variable can hold any type of data. So in this example, value equal to 10. So it is storing the integer. Later it is assigned as a string. So it can store any type of data. And type can change as the program runs. So type related errors will be caught during the execution only, not at the compile time because we are not used the data type before of the variable. So examples of dynamically typed languages are the JavaScript, Python, Ruby and PHP. So this is the summary of the key differences. Type checking, for a statically typed, it is a compile time type checking. For a dynamically type checking at a runtime. Type declaration is required. For a statically typed, dynamically typed, it is not required for a type declaration. So it is less flexibility. Types can't change in statically typed. Dynamically typed, more flexible because type can change. Error detection earlier during the development itself, error will be caught at the statically typed. Whether it is dynamically typed, later during the execution only the errors are caught. Performance generally faster, for a dynamically typed generally slower. So this is the key difference. When to use each type means statically typed languages are preferable for larger applications where stability, speed, and catching errors early or critical. Dynamically typed languages are often choosing for scripting, web development, and projects. For that, we are using dynamically typed languages. So this is the statically and dynamically typed languages. Let's see what is DOM. DOM is a document object model. So DOM represents the structure of an document as a tree of object. And then browser creates the DOM when the browser reads the HTML file while loading. And then browser then reads the DOM and display the content. This is what a DOM. So using a JavaScript, we can manipulate the DOM by changing the elements in the DOM, adding a new elements or deleting elements from the DOM. When DOM is changed dynamically using JavaScript, content displayed by the browser changes. So this is the tree of object, HTML DOM tree of objects. So first the root element HTML, and then inside it we have the elements attributes like this. Let's see the selecting elements in the DOM. So we can select the elements like document.get element by id, selects an element by its id, and then we can select all the elements with a specific class name by document.get element by class name, and then select all elements with a specific tag name like document.get elements by tag name, and then document.query selector, which selects the first element that matches the CSS selector, and then document.query selector selects the all elements that matches the CSS selector. So these are the ways we can select the elements, and then creating and adding an elements. So document.create element is used to create a new element, and then element.append child of new element appends a new child element to an existing element. So for creating an element, we are using document.create element, and then we are add append child to that new element. Element dot append child, adding a new child element, and then inserts a new element before a reference element. Element dot insert before. So this is how we can create an element. So removing elements, element dot remove child of child element, and then element dot remove. This is what we can use for removing the elements. For removing the elements, we need the parent element as well as the child element. So we have to select the parent element and then child element, and then parent element dot remove child of, we have to pass this child element. This is how we can remove the elements. And then element methods, manipulating content. How we can manipulate means like element dot inner HTML and element dot text content. So this is how we can modify the DOM. Also we can manipulating the attributes by element dot get attribute, set attribute, remove attribute. So this is how we can manipulate the attributes, and then manipulating the style like element dot style dot property name, like element dot style dot color equal to blue, So this is how we can manipulate these styles, attributes and content in the DOM. So event handling, add event listener, element dot add event listener. In this we have to pause the event comma function. So we have to select the element first for to add an event listener. So we are selecting my button and then button dot add event listener of event. You are writing for a click event and then the arrow function. So this will be displaying alert button clicked and then removing event listener. Element dot remove event listener of event comma function. This will remove an event listener. And then traversing the DOM, navigating nodes, element dot parent element, element dot children. So this is how we can navigate the nodes. So this is the CRUD operations of the DOM. Like we have to select the DOM first, select the document first, like document dot get element by ID or any of this method, and then we have to create element, and then we if we want to remove we can remove. We can modify it like element dot inner html like this. Can manipulate the attribute styles and then event handling. Can add a event to event for it like add event dot element dot add event listener. You can navigate the nodes like this way, element dot parent element, element dot children. So this is a CRUD operation of a DOM.